couple with a brick, brew and a friend, bleed orange and blue to the bitter end. Come and join us, DDNVR. We are DNVR.
Welcome into the DNVR Broncos podcast on this terrific Tuesday. I'm your host, Zac Stevens, joined by my man, Andrew Mason. Welcome home, Mase. Can't wait to talk to you and get more of your thoughts on what's going on with the Broncos, what's going on with their 1-0 start. But before we hop into the show, I got to tell you about our presenting sponsor, MSU Denver Online. And over at MSU Denver Online, they are the new urban online university with learning outcomes equivalent to face-to-face courses, which you don't get anywhere else. MSU Denver has mastered the art of online learning because they started doing this way before the pandemic hit last year, so they had a jump on everyone else. And you can get the exact same degree by continuing to live your life and get that degree online as you would going on campus and being in person. It's the same degree, it's the same education, so make sure to check them out over at MSU Denver Online. My boy, Mase, what's up? Welcome home.
Thank you. Are they the first place Broncos or the last place Broncos or somewhere in between? Everyone in the AFC West is 1-0. Now, I did see a set of standings where it was clear they grouped the teams first by conference wins and then by point differential.
Okay.
So
and where did the Broncos
that
end
would
up?
place the Broncos third.
Boo.
In
Who's
the
fourth?
AFC West. The Chargers.
Okay.
Narrow win over the Washington football team. That would mean the first place team in the AFC West is the Las Vegas Raiders. They won against an AFC opponent by 6, and the Chiefs beat the Browns by 4.
What a game last night.
That was a cracker of a game.
I mean, that was one of the most entertaining, exciting games. And now I know it didn't end the way that most Broncos fans want to, but everyone thought it ended many plays before.
They're hugging. Like,
yeah, the
Lamar Jackson's
hugging
people. I think either Peyton or Eli said he's about to exchange a jersey with a guy.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't believe they were hugging because when I saw that in real time, Zach, I thought that's coming. That's going to be back at the half-yard line. And then, of course, they did the Raiders did the most Raider thing ever. First, there was a false start on Alex Leatherwood. By the way, your Bama guy had a rough night last night.
There's a reason no one except the Raiders projected him to go where he went.
Yes. Just like Cleveland Farrell, who was inactive last night.
Oh, my God. I mean, the Raiders somehow pulled that off when they seem like they're in shambles.
Well, the Raiders pulled that off in part because, take Cleveland Farrell, for example. That was a mistake of a pick, right?
Yep.
But
big time.
That same draft, I believe they draft Max Crosby.
Yep.
In the middle rounds, and he's better. And they signed Carl Nassib off the street, and he has the game-winning strip sack fumble for them.
Yep.
The Raiders won that game in part because they were able to compensate for some of the mistakes that they made, both in drafting and then during the game. So maybe a credit to them. Maybe there are some parts of that team that are better than we thought, and maybe and Darren Waller.
Yeah, their defensive line is a little better.
The D line is better. The O-line is not better. Their running game, Josh Jacobs, let's just talk another Alabama guy.
Yeah.
Absolutely great vision and agility. And then Henry Ruggs got slightly involved, but
that was a big play.
But Brian Edwards, even though he didn't hand the ball to the umpire, instead put it down. Brian Edwards looks
Peyton
like a great
was pulling his hair out.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. That was. By the way, you watched the Manning broadcast.
Oh, my gosh.
Your thoughts on that?
Fantastic. I feel really bad for Steve Levy and the guys on the Monday night crew because everyone is just talking about Peyton and Eli, and that's honestly how it should be. I mean, these guys should be the Monday night crew. They're so good, and I loved watching Peyton, not just for his analysis, but every time Derek Carr would do something a little off because he sees himself more in Derek Carr than Lamar Jackson. Oh, he was so frustrated.
Oh, yeah.
It seemed like he was just going to pull his hair out.
And when they brought Russell Wilson in the fourth quarter, and then Russ stayed for overtime, that was kind of a masterclass in quarterback play. Mm-hmm. And the way the three of them were talking, but especially Peyton and Russ were talking and breaking down stuff.
Yeah, Eli was really an afterthought in this whole thing.
But Peyton, he's leaning. You watch me; he's leaning forward. He's leaning into every play. His body language was, "I'm all in."
Yep.
And then Russ, he kind of came on for a bit. He's like, I got to watch some film, but then he ends up hanging out with him. And it just reminded me of what we were robbed of because the Broncos took Brock Osweiler instead of Russell Wilson. Imagine those two minds, those football minds, in the same room together for 4 years, and Peyton then passing the baton to Russ.
Yep.
It broke my heart when I started thinking about how that should have happened. They should have taken Russ.
Yeah.
In 2012. The two of them, they had that, you could kind of feel the synergy between the two of them.
Yep. I mean, more synergy between those two than the brothers.
Yeah. I mean, no offense to Eli, but Russ and Peyton are kind of on the same level in terms of football intellect. But Eli's necessary because Eli's kind of the keep it real guy.
Right.
He's going to bring everybody back to earth. But yeah, it was a phenomenal broadcast. The only critique I would have, it's not really a critique, but it's this. If you are multitasking during a game, and my friend Darren Gant, who covers the Panthers, pointed this out, if you're doing something else, it's not a great broadcast because you have to concentrate and watch it fully to appreciate it. Like if you get up and go to the kitchen and make your dinner in the second quarter and you have the Manning cast on, you're going to get lost.
Right.
And so actually, after about 2 minutes, I changed the broadcast to the ESPN ABC one while I was making my dinner. And then once I was able to sit down and watch again, then I put it on the Manning cast.
Yep.
So if you're working, if you're fixing dinner, if you're doing stuff around the house, hanging out with the kiddos, the Manning cast is probably not the one you want to watch if you want to be aware of the game. But if you can focus on the game, it's phenomenal.
Oh, man, those are 3 hours that I'm dedicating to make sure that I'm sitting down doing nothing else, have dinner ready. And, I mean, it was pretty funny. Peyton, when they initially thought they scored, Peyton was so happy. He was like, oh, great, this thing's over. Let's get it done with. And, I mean, what a game. You have Derek Carr, obviously that play that ended at the inches line that they thought was a touchdown, and everyone was celebrating the dub. But then you turn around, and Derek Carr can't get in with the quarterback sneak. Then you have a pass go through the receiver's hands, doinks off the Ravens' helmet, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, Lamar is going to go drive down. Then you have the strip sack, and then the play that ended it was incredible too. Derek Carr's floating back on the broadcast. We can't see where he's throwing this. It may just look like he's throwing it up a jump ball. No, he's throwing it up to a wide open receiver to end the game on a walk-off to make the AFC undefeated. And it's a good thing that the Broncos have Patrick Surtain to help cover tight ends, but they're going to need more than just Patrick Surtain with Darren Waller. Mase, Darren Waller is Derek Carr's favorite target by far. 19 targets yesterday. Yeah. That is insane.
It's insane, and yet at the same time, although it was a heavy dispersal to Darren Waller, he trusts other guys. And one of the things that makes the Broncos offense potentially dangerous is Teddy has a willingness to throw to anybody, and they can make plays. You saw a nice dispersal between Jeudy and Tim Patrick and Noah Fant.
Yeah.
And then Cortland Sutton, you'll get him involved as time goes on. Well, last night for the Raiders, you had 4 guys that had at least 59 yards receiving. Kenyon Drake, 59, Hunter Renfrow, 70, Brian Edwards, 81, and then Darren Waller, $105 on 10 receptions. And then Henry Ruggs and Zay Jones both had big catches, and they had 46 yards apiece. So 6 guys with at least 46 yards receiving. They're not going to pass for 435 yards every week, but what that shows me is that he trusts everybody, and they're going to be hard to deal with offensively because he's just going to find the open man. The key to the equation is, can that offensive line, which got shredded at times last night, keep him upright? Derek Carr really did a great job in that game despite a lack of protection for long stretches. That might, in some ways, that might have been Derek Carr's best game given what he was dealing with.
Yeah, incredibly impressive. But, I mean, boy, does he love him some Darren Waller, no doubt about that. And, Mace, let's talk about the Broncos. Let's shift it back to the Broncos a little bit here because, yes, they're 1-0. Vibes are good, but the rest of the AFC West is also 1-0. And there's 2 injuries. We touched on them a little bit yesterday, but I wanted to get more in the weeds just about how the Broncos are going to replace these guys and what we're looking at here. And let's start with Jerry Jeudy. Mase, yesterday we talked about his 4 to 6 week timeline that he's going to be out. And then we broke down, okay, with the high ankle sprain, this is something that when he comes back, he's not going to be 100% if they push that 4 or 6 weeks, if they bring him back at the first time that he's available to be back. So we went through and said, do you hold him out longer? Maybe do you hold him out all the way to the bye and just give him so much more time to, he's probably still not going to be 100%, but instead of bringing him back 5 weeks in at 80%, do you bring him back after the bye, which means instead of missing 4 to 6 weeks, he's missing 8 weeks, but then he's 95%. What do you think of that?
You know what? If that's what it takes to get him all the way back and ensure that this isn't Julius Thomas 2.0, all for it. And Von Miller is the only player who was around then, and most of the training staff is turned over. But I still have some PTSD on Julius Thomas's high ankle sprain of 2011.
Yeah.
And how they kept trying to push him back and rush him back. And effectively, it would end up costing him his second season entirely because it wasn't all the way there. And if the recovery is looking like that of Julius Thomas, I hope they don't make the same mistake with Jerry Jeudy. And so they tried to force him back a few weeks later. It wasn't there. If Jeudy is recovering wonderfully and everything is going great, 4 to 6 weeks, absolutely do it. But if there's any doubt, if there's any snag, be cautious. And you can afford to be cautious because of the depth you have at wide receiver. Mm-hmm. Hey, aren't you glad you didn't trade Tim Patrick now?
Yeah, yes, you are.
I mean, that sometimes the best deals are the ones you don't make. Mm-hmm. Well, Tim Patrick balled out on Sunday. Yep. And Tim Patrick may be the biggest beneficiary of not only what's happening to Jerry Jeudy, but also Cortland Sutton's still kind of working his way back, because Cortland only had the one catch for 14 yards. It was a huge catch, but nevertheless, he's still kind of on his way back. This, it might be the Noah Fant and Tim Patrick show with a dash of Cortland and KJ thrown in the mix.
Yep, exactly, with Alberto in there as well.
But the fact that you can do that, and you mentioned Alberto, you have, between the tight ends and the receivers, it's going to take a village to replace Jerry Jeudy, but it literally might be something like Jerry Jeudy's 6 catches that he had Sunday. Let's assume that if he played the entire game, he would have had 1, maybe 2 more. So let's say you're replacing 8 receptions over the course of a game.
8 to 10, yeah.
Yeah, it might literally be that Cortland Sutton gets a couple more, Noah Fant gets a couple more, Tim Patrick gets a couple more, KJ gets 1 more, Alberto gets 1 more.
Yeah,
it's going to take a village to replace Jerry Jeudy.
Well, and one thing that this isn't going to be is it's not going to be Tyree Cleveland coming up and everyone else just bumping up a level. And so whoever is your third receiver now becomes your 2 and Cortland becomes your 1. I completely agree, Mason. That's exactly what Vic Fangio said it's going to be as well. Not just by committee, but broken down like that, where everyone's just getting a third more reps between those next 3 guys, including Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, KJ Hamler. That's who they're really going to count on. I expect the Broncos to bring someone up from the practice squad, whether it's Kendall Hinton, whether it's Tyree Cleveland, Seth Williams, but just for really a depth purpose, it's just going to be the guys we've seen minus Jerry Jeudy, and that's how it should be. And you're absolutely right. The Broncos should be thrilled that they didn't end up trading any of these guys, and now certainly they're not going to, and I completely agree. You don't want to rush Jerry Jeudy back, and Mace, this team, they really should be 3-0. They should be 3-0 in 2 weeks from now, and then they have a cushion to when they go to Pittsburgh, when they host Baltimore. They're going to have to pick up some games in the next little bit of stretch as well, but they're going to have a 3-0 start. And then, Mace, you can afford to, you'll still be in the playoff race, so you're not going to have to force Jerry Jeudy because you want him in December and January more than you want him in October. So I'm completely there with you. All right, let's get to another injury really quick.
You also mentioned October really quick. Now, just to go back to the Raiders game for a moment, and all the more reason why you got to go 3-0 here. You got Baltimore, Pittsburgh, the Raiders looking pretty feisty, Cleveland, and then Washington, which took the Chargers to the limit, even with Ryan Fitzpatrick going down, and then Dallas.
On the road.
Yes. All of a sudden, that 3-0 has never been more essential because you're looking at a 5-game stretch, or actually 6 if you include Dallas, where you could be 3-3 and have done very well, made a good acquittal of yourselves. 2-4, you're sitting there at 5-4, shaky spot. But if you go 3-3 and you start off 3-0, 6-3, you're in really good shape.
You're in really good shape. Then you have the bye week, and Mase, up until the bye week, you play one division game.
Right.
One division game. That's why it's so important to make sure that you are as close to full strength as possible right after the bye, because then that's first game back from the bye is against the Chargers. Chargers looking good right now. Like you said, they're above the Broncos in these tied standings. And another guy who is way more up in the air right now than Jerry Jeudy is Graham Glasgow. As we found out yesterday, he did not travel back with the team. In fact, he left the game in an ambulance after having an irregular heartbeat. It seems like he even played through it, too, since he started experiencing it in the second or third quarter, yet only missed 3 snaps. Nitani Mooty was the guy to fill him in on those 3 snaps. He's expected to be flying home as we speak right now. And Mase, maybe he plays this Sunday. I'm certainly not counting on him playing this Sunday.
Not in the heat and humidity in Jacksonville, I'm not.
No, and this is someone who maybe he's back in 2 weeks. Maybe he's out the entire season. We don't know. They don't know. Graham doesn't know. It's a very scary situation because of all the uncertainty, and we're certainly hoping for Graham, the best for Graham. But I think at this point, at least the way I'm going about this, is I'm planning the rest of the season without Graham. If you get him back, that's great. That's a bonus. But am I thinking along the right track?
Yeah. Until he's completely cleared, you don't rush him back. You take your time. And you're very high on Nitani Mooty. We've been talking about him all summer. Well, Here you go. Here's the kid's shot.
Yep.
Just go ahead and give it to him. I mean, it's possible that Mooty could play well enough based on what we've seen to where this could be a Wally Pipp situation.
Yep.
That Mooty could play well enough to where, unfortunately, for Graham Glasgow, if that happens, he doesn't get his job back.
Yeah.
That is a legitimate possibility here.
Yep.
I mean, is it fair? No. But it's the reality of football sometimes. It's the reality of sports that if somebody comes in and plays well in your stead, then you could lose your job. Are we probably talking about this too early? Yes, but it just shows how well Nitani Mooty has played when he's been out there. The power that he plays with, he's going to bring a different gear to that offensive line.
Yep.
And it's really sad for Graham Glasgow. Hope he gets back. Hope it's 100%. But I don't think there's going to be any trepidation in that building about putting Nitani Mooty out there. I don't think anybody's going to worry about that spot, even though Graham Glasgow is the veteran, because Mooty is regarded so highly right now based on the progress that he's made.
Yeah, you're very right, Mase, and that's just why the Broncos kind of lucked out. If they had to have an injury or 2 injuries, it happened at good spots. It happened at a spot where you have a really good backup and a spot that you have a really good committee that can replace Jerry Jeudy.
Unlike last year when your injuries happened at spots where you didn't have depth.
Oh, yeah, cornerback was real tough. Real tough. And so, Mase, I want to ask you, which one is going to impact the Broncos even more? But first, I want to get to our DraftKings Sportsbook pick of the week. And Mase, my pick of the week, I want some help from you because I'm looking over at DraftKings Sportsbook. No, but you know football, though. So I saw 2 things over at DraftKings Sportsbook that I love. And these are week 2 specials that you can only find over at DraftKings Sportsbook. They have some fun ones. I mean, one of them is Chandler Jones to record 4 or more sacks because of his 5-sack performance last week. That's plus 1,000. I'm not going to go that far on Chandler Jones.
That would require him having 9 sacks in the first 2 games.
It would be incredible.
Yeah.
They have one on Kyler Murray having 5 or more touchdowns again like he did last week. I'm not going to touch that one, but there's 2 that really jump out to me, and I want to know which one you think is better.
Okay.
Combined Patrick Mahomes passing yards and Lamar Jackson rushing yards. What would you set that at for this coming, is it Monday night or Sunday night game?
Sunday night.
It's Chiefs at Ravens, combined Mahomes passing yards and Lamar rushing yards. What would you set the line at?
400.
400? I like this one then.
Why?
The over is 365.5. 365.5. I think Mahomes is going to get 300 passing yards, and I think Lamar is going to get 60 rushing yards. 65.
Yeah,
so boom.
I think maybe even more for Lamar against the Chiefs defense as well.
And that's
because
all you
they're
need.
They're going to leave some gaps.
Yeah. And that's all you need is 365.5. So I really like that one. That's the one that I wanted to go with because I don't want to go with this other one. But the odds here are better. Aaron Rodgers passing yards against the Detroit Lions. What would you guess? And Mace, I'll give you an added thing with this. The odds, I'm trying to put it in your terms, are 5-4. So you're actually getting even better odds.
280.
280? 300.
Ooh.
305. I think he's going to be on fire. I think he's going to want to kill Detroit. That line's set at 10.5, and I think they're going to cover.
Okay. And yes, I think they'll kill the Lions this weekend. Aaron Rodgers won't look like he wanted to be anywhere but the Packers sideline. He looked like he wanted to be in Denver or San Francisco or on the set of Jeopardy.
So maybe the play isn't Aaron Rodgers then. And with how we came to this, my pick of the week, combined Mahomes passing yards and Lamar Jackson rushing yards over 365.5, and you can find that on DraftKings Sportsbook under their Week 2 specials.
See, here's the thing also with Aaron Rodgers is that if the Packers get out in front early on Detroit, then Matt LaFleur is going to want to run the ball a little bit more.
Right. Yeah.
And not kind of take it out of his hands, but control the tempo. If anything, we kind of saw last week with the Lions 49ers game that you do want to, if you get in front, maybe you do a better job than the Niners did of taking the air out of the ball because the Lions did find a way to fight back in that game.
Yep.
They had some feistiness.
Yeah, they did. They really did.
They're not going to be a good team, but they're a feisty team.
Yeah, I mean that's Dan Campbell just eating your kneecaps.
Yeah. And they're gonna pick off an upset or two somewhere along the way.
Hopefully it's not in Denver.
Yeah, let's hope it's not in Denver. But they're gonna pick off an upset or two somewhere along the way because of what they showed. So that's your pick. I'm going on the over on the Mahomes Lamar Jackson parlay. I'm actually, you know what? Braves are playing the Rockies tonight.
Oh.
So I'm back on this because it came through again last week. You got the Gray Wolf, John Gray, on the bump tonight for the Rockies going in Atlanta at Truist Park. Over-under on strikeouts, it's 4.5. Take the over. Gray Wolf, I think, will get 5 or 6 Ks tonight against the Atlanta lineup, which they're still fighting to hold off the Phillies and Mets for first place. And this is an important series for the Braves because they're at home against the Rockies. Now, the Rockies just won 3 out of 4 against Philly, the rivals in the NFC East, or the NL East on the football bent. But the Rockies, they're playing better on the road, and the Braves turn around after this, and they go on an 11-game Western swing that could change the division. So the Braves might be pressing a little bit, and that can lead to some strikeouts because they know they have to get it done against the Rockies the next 3 days. So I'm going to take the over.
Yeah, there's nothing the Rockies are pressing on. They're certainly not fighting for anything now. So I'm glad your Braves are at least doing something, Mace.
Yeah, I mean it's nervous every night. I was sitting when they were.
At least Rockies fans don't have that right now.
Well, the funny thing, like before the game on Sunday, I was like, as the warm-ups were finishing, I was like staring at my phone, like following Phillies, Rockies, and following Braves, Marlins, and I was a little bit kind of distracted for about 30 minutes or so, and then game time came. And the Rockies won, the Braves lost there, and then the Broncos won, and all was good and happy.
All was good and happy, and everything is good and happy over at DraftKings Sportsbook, where they're giving you another opportunity to get in on this killer deal that they have. All you have to do is bet $1 on any football game this week, and they'll give you $200 in free bets. And guys, my dad just did this, and I'll tell you what, the free bets are just as good as it seems. They give you 8 $25 free bets. You get to bet that on whatever you want, and then if that bet hits, boom, you get the winnings just like that. It's real money into your account. You're going to see your account grow crazy over the week that you deposit money and make that $1 bet to get those $200 in free bets. So make sure to do that now. Get in before Thursday Night Football. Thursday Night Football is kind of a dud this week, but if you have some action in it, it'll make it fun and exciting. Hopefully it's just as good of a game as last night's game. So get over to DraftKings Sportsbook, where you can find both Mace and I's DraftKings Sportsbook pick of the week, including all of those Week 2 specials. So head to the App Store now, download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now, and use promo code DNVR when you sign up to get that $200 in free bets when you bet $1 on any game this week over at DraftKings Sportsbook. Smash that code DNVR, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older, Colorado only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
Got to tell you about the DNVR Bar and becoming a member at DNVR, of course. Here's the thing. If you become a DNVR member, you can come on down to the DNVR Bar and get big beers for the price of small beers. And that will come in handy because, you know what? It's another great football weekend this coming Saturday and Sunday. Start off with college football on Saturday. The DNVR Bar is opening at 10 a.m. Saturdays and Sundays, which
perfect
this
time.
week is absolutely essential because on Saturday, you've got the Colorado Buffaloes hosting the Minnesota Golden Gophers, and things will be popping right here at the DNVR Bar for that. And then, of course, it's an early game Sunday. The Broncos and the Jacksonville Jaguars at 11 a.m. Mountain Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time there on the first coast of Florida. So you're going to want to get in, get those member-sized beers, have some brunch here with us at the DNVR Bar. We'll also have DraftKings reps out every Saturday and Sunday handing out swag, $10 drink tickets, etc. when you sign up on your favorite sportsbook app. That, of course, is the DraftKings app. And a reminder that if you come on down the DNVR Bar and watch the Buffaloes, watch the CSU Rams, although, against...
Yeah, we don't have to
Vanderbilt.
talk about them.
What the hell?
1-5 under Mr. Steve.
Now but we're gonna have the game on.
Yep.
We're gonna have the game on at 2 p.m. Mountain Time Saturday. They're going off to. Does Toledo still playing the Glass Bowl?
No idea.
Okay, well they're going off
Sounds
to Toledo.
cool. It's like a little fish.
Yeah,
We've actually got a watch party for CSU going on up in Fort Collins this weekend instead
no
of
kidding.
at the DNVR
So
Bar.
not only the DNVR Bar, but up in Fort Collins. Where is that in Fort
At
Collins?
Panhandler's Pizza.
Okay.
Yeah. Check out all of our that'll be going on, and there should be an RSVP going up in just a little bit. So.
Awesome. Well, you can come to the
love it.
DNVR Bar, you can go to Panhandler's Pizza up in Fort Fun and get some pizza up there and watch CSU take on the Toledo Rockets. But yeah, there's nowhere to go but up for CSU, right? Let's be honest. Let's be positive.
My God.
Nowhere to go but up after that fiasco on Saturday.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. And the only way to get through that fiasco is with a Breck Brew in hand.
That's a
Mace.
good point. That's a good point.
It helps with everything. And you can get all of the Breck beers at our watch parties. I'm sure up at Panhandler's Pizza you can get them as well. And wherever you are, you need a Breck Brew in your life. And right now, Mace, we get a little chilly day today. Maybe it's a little more of a Vanilla Porter Jr. day. Maybe it's getting a little avalanche weather. But
Not
it's
yet, I
always,
hope.
It's always strawberry sky weather. Maybe it's an RK special day because it's not cold, it's not hot. That kind of mixes the two there. And you got to get your fix of Breckenridge Brewery. Of course, get Broncos Country. You can find that at King Soopers. We found it at King Soopers this weekend. It's everywhere. And if you're not exactly sure where to buy Breck Brew, go to breckbrew.com or check out their beer locator on Breckenridge Brewery's website. We love Breck Brew. Like I say, with Hassel and Strava, when we put our stamp of approval on it, we bring it into the bar. It's been in the bar since the very beginning. You know it's that good. So make sure to check out Breckenridge Brewery, the official beer of DNVR. All right, Mace, I got to ask you the question of the headline of this pod. Mm-hmm. Who's going to have more of an impact being out, Jerry Jeudy or Graham Glasgow?
Wow.
The hard hitter.
It's hard because we've just talked about how they can be replaced.
Yep.
That being said, even though Mooty has less experience, I think taking Jeudy out is going to have a little bit more of an impact. Because you are talking about taking out the wide receiver one. And clearly on Sunday he was wide receiver one. And he also has a very special chemistry with Teddy Bridgewater.
He does.
And it showed on Sunday. It showed throughout training camp that those two are on the same page. That he's Teddy's wide receiver one. Now, right behind Jerry Jeudy on the trust tree for Teddy Bridgewater appears to be Noah Fant. So
Yeah.
what I think is interesting, we talk about the village to replace Jerry Jeudy. What if the big part of that village means Noah Fant goes from 6 catches to 8? Is it possible that in the next few weeks we start seeing Noah Fant post some Darren Waller-like numbers?
Ooh, 19
Maybe not,
targets?
maybe not 19 targets, but could you see 10 catches
Yeah.
for Noah Fant over the next
That's
few
how
weeks?
it should be.
Yeah.
That's how it should be, Mace. Without
his
a doubt.
time.
It is his time, and this is a big opportunity for him to step up. And Mace, I'm going the same direction as you for similar reasoning. You pretty much took the words out of my mouth
Sorry.
there. We talked about how the Broncos will be okay replacing both of these guys. But Nitani Mooty could actually end up being better than not just Graham. He could end up being better than any of the Broncos' interior offensive linemen. So it's not just a knock on Graham. It's just that's how good Nitani Mooty can be. If he stays healthy, knock on wood. If he gets hurt now, then the Broncos are in big trouble at right guard. But Nitani Mooty could end up being better than Graham Glasgow, end up being the best offensive lineman the Broncos have, as crazy as it is. And we saw this.
Better than Garrett Bowles?
Potentially.
Wow.
I mean, Garrett wasn't fantastic on Sunday.
He was fine.
Yeah, he was fine, but not as good as he was last year.
The other thing that happened on Sunday was that the interior of the Broncos offensive line against the Giants' interior D-line struggled. Like Leonard Williams, if the Giants had won that game, we would have been talking about how Leonard Williams wrecked the Broncos' interior.
Well, and that is part of this conversation as well, Mace, because who he wrecked wasn't Graham. It wasn't as much Lloyd. It was Dalton Risner.
Yeah.
It was a very rough day for Dalton Risner, and that is concerning, and that plays into this as well, because how this could also be a good thing in disguise. I don't want to say an injury is ever a good thing, but how the Broncos could turn this into a good thing is if, let's say, Nitani Mooty comes in for 4 weeks, and no one knows how long Graham's going to be out. He comes in for 4 weeks, he balls, and Dalton Risner, the regression continues from last year as it did into week 1.
Yeah.
Well, then maybe you're thinking of either putting Nitani at left guard, you're putting Dalton at left guard, and then your offensive line just in general has gotten better. It's taken a step up. I really hope that Dalton doesn't continue to regress, but Leonard Williams was eating his lunch, and Leonard Williams, very, very good player.
He is one of the probably 3 or 4 best interior defensive linemen in football right now.
But it's not like the Broncos aren't going to see ones that are just as good or better when they have to play the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yes. Others are coming, and then you look at other team like Washington is strong in the interior and strong on the edge.
Oh, yep.
The next several weeks, you've got some challenges coming up for this offensive line.
You do.
Probably not this week in Jacksonville. This is actually really good. This is probably a really good week for Nitani Mooty to get what will be his second career start.
Yeah.
But the Jets have some punch up front, and then you get to Baltimore, and then you get to Pittsburgh,
Baltimore too,
and then you get to Las Vegas. And we talked about their defensive line.
Yeah.
Although their strength is more on the outside, being so deep at defensive end. I mean,
but Baltimore really quick plays. Campbell. He was blowing up plays last night.
You get past this
Shout
game.
out South High School.
Yeah, exactly. He should have played here, but that's still an open wound that didn't work out for him to come here. But I digress. Nevertheless, you've got some stern challenges coming up on the interior for your defensive line, and so Dalton's got to step up. I mean, really, honestly, Dalton Risner has not been the same since he had that ankle injury as a rookie, and he's got to find another gear here.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, he was trending like a 90-degree angle his rookie year. He was looking fantastic. Everyone, and I think reasonably so, Mace, last year kind of expected him to be a Pro Bowler or a borderline Pro Bowl type of player.
Certainly on his way to that.
Yeah, Pro Bowler this season. That was the way he was trending. Yeah. And it's been downhill. So I think this could end up being a bright spot is if Dalton continues to struggle, the Broncos say, okay, well, we like what we see from Graham, and he's healthy enough to play, so we got to make the best 5 guys on the field. The Broncos so desperately want Nitani Mooty on the field. It was so clear. We saw it throughout the offseason, and this is a way they're going to get him on the field, and then they're going to be able to find out just how to get the best 5 on the field. So that plays into this. But in terms of just this week, why I agree with you that it's Jerry Jeudy has the bigger impact, even though the Broncos can replace these guys. Mase, we were talking last year how the Broncos were going to have 2 number 1 receivers in Courtland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy. I was worried this entire offseason that Courtland wasn't going to be a true number 1 this year. I think he'll still get back to that form, but I think it's going to take a year coming back from injury. And it was very clear that Jerry Jeudy was ready to take over that role as a true number 1. Well, the Broncos just lost that true number 1. And from what I saw from Courtland on Sunday, I feel like I was right this offseason saying Courtland's not that true number 1 yet. Not just the stats, 1 catch for 14 yards. Obviously, that's not true number 1 stuff. But also just the way he looked. It looked like he was 90% not trusting himself to run full speed at times.
So he wasn't getting separation. That was a thing.
Yeah.
And he can
that's
make,
what I'm saying, that 90%.
He can make jump ball plays when he doesn't have separation, but he's also still kind of working to trust that knee. And I remember a few weeks ago I said, don't be surprised if you look up for Courtland Sutton after 4 games and he's got like 140 yards. Well, he would have to improve on the pace that he showed last week to get there. But that's just kind of where he is right now. Now, it's possible that they get him back involved. They kind of force him to trust that knee, and that may accelerate the process. But I would also argue this. With Tim Patrick playing the way he did Sunday and Noah Fant playing the way he did, and if KJ Hamler can catch it when it's in his breadbasket, I know there are people may say, oh, well, KJ wasn't led on the play. When you're throwing it 50 yards downfield, if it's catchable, the quarterback did his job. Whether the receiver has to turn back or not.
It wasn't a perfect ball, but it was an extremely catchable ball.
Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, you saw KJ after the play. He's laying on the ground. He knows he should have caught that.
And then the next possession, and I love that Teddy Bridgewater got KJ Hamler involved again.
Well, and that's what I loved about Teddy. He did that with KJ, and he also did it with Alberto in a very clutch situation, too.
Yeah, and I love seeing that. Now, it's funny hearing last night Peyton Manning talk about that, and I think Brandon Stokely mentioned on Twitter that if he dropped the pass from Peyton, he'd get frozen out for a while. Teddy Bridgewater is the exact opposite, and I asked him about it after the game, saying, "Hey, you got to kind of build the guy back up. You got to pat him on the shoulder. You got to trust him a little bit." And it's to Teddy's credit that he did that, and the results were terrific. Yet, and that KJ had that really nice catch near the sideline. And then Alberto had the touchdown, had the improv job where he wasn't scheduled to run a route, but he did it. But he did anyway. One thing about that, everything worked out perfectly there. But when he threw to Alberto, and Alberto was way short of the sticks at first, I'm like, oh God, this is.
Or could you imagine if that play didn't work out because Alberto ran the route that he wasn't supposed to run, and we find that out? I mean, talk about a really bad game for Alberto. But we don't have to worry about that. It all worked out. But Mase, I think getting back to replacing Jerry Jeudy, that's why I think it's a bigger deal, is because the Broncos now don't have a true number 1 receiver. And I think you hit it on the head. The biggest way to replace that is by showing that they have a true number 1 tight end.
Bingo. And maybe wide receiver 1 is actually wearing a tight end's jersey.
Right. And let him feast, Pat Shurmur. Get him out there, spread him, make him look like a wide receiver for a lot of the plays, and also put him next to Alberto and 2 tight end packages. That will just be a nightmare. If you have to spread a linebacker out, then the next play you're making heavy, then the next one, Noah Fant's in the slot, and you just don't know what to do with him. That's what Noah Fant should be. He was a first-round pick. He's super athletic.
Well, I'm going to dive into the 2 tight end stuff in a piece coming up here. Hope probably tonight that I post on DNVR.com.
Love it.
And, we know about Pat Shurmur's general reticence toward 2 tight end sets. Here's a chance for Shurmur to get religion on the 2 tight packages. And even the 3 tight end packages as well. Of course, Melvin Gordon had his touchdown run out of the 3 tight end look. But that's not something you're generally using in the phase of the game where it's tight. The game is in the balance. You're not up by 2 scores. Usually if you're gonna do anything, go 2 tight end. I think the Broncos need to make 2 tight their base formation for the foreseeable future.
Especially now,
because your best combinations for an offense that can keep a defense off guard, keep them guessing, involve two tight ends. And one of the things that was promising was how often they ran on two tight ends and they were asking Albert Okwuegbunam to block. He still has a long way to go as a blocker, yes. But the fact is, he's gone from somebody who, if you didn't want him blocking at all, you didn't trust him, to where when you're going too tight and Albert O is one of the two tight ends, you're willing to run. You're trusting him enough.
Yep.
You're letting him grow. That's a huge sign for him. And Eric Sauber had a good game in limited work as well.
Yep.
Two tight ends needs to be the base package for this offense, at least until Jerry Jeudy gets back, and maybe even beyond that.
Yeah, I mean,
you can be explosive with two tight because you have Noah and Albert, who are basically big wide receivers. You can be explosive and dynamic with a two tight end package in a way that most teams can't. This is kind of, when we were talking about this last year when we dreamed of the possibilities of Fant and Albert O, saying, what if you're looking down the line at what the Patriots had for that brief moment when they had Gronk and the late Aaron Hernandez. When the Patriots did that in the early 2010s, that offense was damn near unstoppable.
Yep.
Nobody had answers for both of them. And I think if Albert O continues to evolve and grow, and you play a lot of two tight end formations, I don't think anybody has an answer coverage-wise for both Okwuegbunam and Fant. There aren't enough guys like that in the league who can cover those two effectively. So ride this. Use this as an opportunity.
And we talked about it a little yesterday, but one of the things that the Raiders did on that last play was money, where they line up a wide receiver, kind of a close bunch toward the tight end in the middle of the line, and then you just have that wide receiver take the top off and cross the field. And what I love about that is you're probably not going to get a linebacker matched up against KJ Hamler there, but you're going to get a corner or a safety matched up against him, and then they have to run through a bunch of traffic, and KJ can really manipulate that well. And just that's a play where he may be just as open as number 7 was last night, Mace. And so get KJ on the field, get Noah Fant, use these guys, and get creative. This is an opportunity for Pat Shurmur to get creative, because now you don't have a number 1 receiver out there that has to be on the field at all times. This is something where you can mix and match, and this is a time for Pat to really get creative.
I think it was I'm not sure if it was Bill Barnwell, Doug Farrar wrote a book about the genius of desperation. And sometimes you are forced into scenarios that force your hand and force you to be creative to account for that. And I think the Broncos may be at one of those spots here that maybe forces Pat Shurmur's hand, forces him to do some different things that are actually more dynamic and harder for a defense to counter, because nobody has the personnel to handle that. I mean, it's funny you talk about what the Raiders did to the Ravens. Well, the Ravens did that to the Raiders as well, and they forced Kwiatkowski into some mismatches last night.
Yep, they did.
And he's a solid linebacker, but you don't want him covering somebody running deep. And the Broncos have two tight ends who can run 4-5.
Exactly.
This is a huge opportunity here.
Yeah, Pat Shurmur and Teddy Bridgewater, don't be afraid to use Noah Fant like Derek Carr uses Darren Waller.
Oh my gosh! And then supplement that with a little Albert O. You open things up for everybody else. And then imagine what happens if you do that, and then you put Jerry Jeudy back in there as a wide receiver 1. I mean, you could be creating something really special here.
Yep.
I feel like I'm getting too optimistic, though.
No, the Mace, they're 1-0. There's no reason to pull the reins back.
Everybody's happy, huh?
Broncos are top of the AFC West. They just blew out a team.
Or by tiebreaker, they're third.
But... Oh, hey, we don't need to get into the nitty-gritty.
Hey, third might still get you a wild card.
And like I said about a month ago, it's not crazy after 3 games to think the Broncos will have a better record than the Chiefs. And it's still not crazy. I mean, both 1-0 right now. Broncos get the Jaguars on the road, and then the Chiefs on Sunday night get to go into Baltimore to play the Ravens, where the Ravens are going to be very.
Have you seen the Chiefs' schedule after these first few weeks? By the way, I mean it's tough, right? It's tough early. After the first few weeks, it's paper mache.
Yeah.
It's tissue paper.
So
it's soft.
It's the opposite. We have Tim Jenkins coming in, and he says, tell Mase I said what's up after he bailed on me yesterday.
I didn't bail. I was in transit, Tim. I'm sorry that I missed you, though. I would have loved to have been here for that, but I was still working my way back. By the way, just random thing. Some guy sitting in front of me put his seat back for the entire flight, all the way from Newark to Denver. And then when we finally began our approach to Denver, they say your seat backs and tray tables must be in their full and upright position. He didn't do that. He didn't even do that when he got up to leave. And I'm trying to recombobulate all my stuff because I have my, I had my iPad out because I was going through the game. I was going through the game book and getting some stuff down. And I'm sitting there, and I had to literally reach and put the seat up myself so I could get gather my stuff and get out. What a jerk sitting in front of me.
What a jerk.
And so I kind of was passive aggressive on the plane, and then I was passive aggressive when I left because I walked past him in the terminal because he was waiting for somebody, and I kind of did the coughing asshole.
Oh, wow.
And he looked at me, and I just walked away.
Wow. Well, Mase, maybe he was just manscaping in the plane and needed some more room to get down under.
At least he didn't take off his shoes.
Or his pants, I thought is what you were going to say. The shoes, the pants, it would have been all bad. But you know what? I'm not advising you to do this. TSA and the FAA probably would advise against this, but you could manscape in an airplane if you wanted, because the Lawnmower 4.0 is great. It's wireless. The battery life is so long. It charges wirelessly, which just helps the battery life. There's even a light in case you're doing it in the dark. And it's waterproof, so it makes for a very easy cleanup. So make sure to check out the Lawnmower 4.0 over at Manscaped. And also get in on the Perfect Package 4.0. You're not going to have to mow the lawn for the rest of the year, but you're going to want to make sure that you have another lawnmower around to make sure that you are tidied up below the belt. And use the code DNVR to get 20% off and free shipping over at Manscaped. So check them out over at manscaped.com. Smash that code DNVR and get 20% off plus free shipping.
Another great code to know is, of course, the DNVR 20 code over at Solace Meds. Use that magical code DNVR 20. You're going to get 20% off at Solace Meds. Of course, they've got 4 locations in Fort Collins, Wheat Ridge, in Denver off-Broadway, and then on East Colfax, just blocks from the DNVR bar where we sit right now. Solace Meds has some hot deals for what until today was a very hot month of September. It's going to be hot again, isn't it, later this week?
Yep.
Enjoy the day.
Yep, starting tomorrow.
Enjoy the cool day because the 80s and the upper 80s and 90s are coming back. But those hot deals at Solace Meds include Can America Gummies, 25% off. Strains Tinctures, 20% off. Rockin' Cartridges, 25% off. And Glacier Concentrates for 20% off. So use that code DNVR20. You get 20% off your order on top of all that. And oh, by the way, if you mention that code when you go into Solace Meds, you'll get a free Solace bar or King Cone, and those Solace bars, they are delicious. Solace Meds will make your cannabis shopping experience a delight. You head on over to their website, which is solacemeds.com, SOLACE meds.com. View their menu, order online, and then go to your nearest location and pick it up at your convenience. It's that easy. So check out Solace Meds, SOLACE meds.com. 4 locations, one in Fort Collins, one in Wheat Ridge, one off Broadway, and one on East Colfax, not far from the DNVR bar.
You'll need some money to enjoy all of our partners, although not much using those codes DNVR, DNVR20, DNVR25, but you'll still need some money in order to enjoy life. And our friends over at Ball, yes, the place where the Nuggets and Avs play. Yes, the aerospace engineering company. Yes, the company that made 101 billion cans last year. Mase has got one of those 101 billion. They want to hire you, and they are a great place to work, not just because they're going to pay you and they want to hire you in their golden plan, but because they have a culture of belonging index score by the Human Rights Campaign of 100%.
Wow.
It is perfect. That means that they don't care what your background is, as long as you're willing to do good work and have a background that they're looking for. They don't care who you are or where you come from. And they really support you once you work there because they have a lot of groups to represent your unique background. If you want to meet more people, reach new career heights, get support, Ball supports groups like the Society of Women's Engineers and so many more. They want you to be unstoppable at Ball, and that's what they're all about over there with their fantastic culture. And they want to hire you to their 400-person production plant here in Golden. So here's how you get a job. Text Golden to 77222 or go to jobs.ball.com and search for Golden. Text Golden to 77222 to get hooked up with opportunities, or just go to their website, jobs.ball.com, and search for Golden. My aunt works there and says it's a fantastic place to work. All right, Mace, let's jump into some questions. Want to talk to the people after yesterday's pod, and let's jump in because they may want to pick your brain, Mace, just about what happened with the game since you were still traveling yesterday. And first one coming in from Melbourne Broncos says, "Hi guys, well the Raiders win has me worried. This division is going to be very tough, but also means the AFC West will be super competitive with the best in the conference. It's going to be great to watch how it pans out. Cheers."
It will, and I don't want to jump to conclusions after week one.
He's jumping to conclusions after week one.
But I did think this going into the season that you could see three teams in the postseason from the AFC West.
Definitely.
I think the pure mathematics of what it would take to have all four, someday it'll happen. I don't think it'll happen this year, but I do think third place in the AFC West, in part because they're getting the NFC East in interconference play. I think that's going to help this division rack up enough wins outside of divisional play to where you do talk about three AFC West teams in the postseason. And the other thing that's interesting, the AFC West is partnered with the AFC North. Mm-hmm. So the Raiders already, you can say, kind of stole one, beating Baltimore.
Yep.
Chiefs already beat Cleveland.
Yep. Maybe their most difficult game.
But the flip side of that, and the one that this may work against the AFC West, is that Cincinnati appears better than expected. And Pittsburgh, although Ben Roethlisberger was pedestrian on Sunday in Buffalo, their defense looks like it might be the best in the league.
That's even scarier that he was pedestrian and they beat Buffalo.
I got some Broncos 2015 vibes watching Pittsburgh and Buffalo on Sunday.
Only difference is TJ Watt got paid before instead of after the season.
And he said, pay me, get my agent out of the equation. Just
I love that.
Let's just make a deal. That is the most Watt family story ever.
Yeah, it is. And also on top of it, I mean, he gets the biggest contract for a defensive
He does,
player.
but he just didn't want to screw around.
Yeah.
Like, let's get this done. Let's stop the negotiation.
And then he says, now I got to go work out.
Yeah. Oh, man. The Watts. It's, the Watts are basically the pass rush version of the Mannings.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Right down to the fact that there's going to be another Manning bust because, like it or not, Eli Manning is going to be a Hall of Famer.
Yep.
And J.J. Watt's going to be a Hall of Famer.
Without a doubt.
T.J. Watt looks like he's well on his way to going to the Hall of Fame.
It does look like that. So I think what we're saying, Mace, is the AFC West looks great, but there's also some other dominant teams out there.
Yeah, there are. And I thought the Chargers, they weren't dominant, but that was a good grinded out win on the road against a tough defense. Overcame mistakes.
New coaching staff,
and their dean looks really good.
Yeah.
But should we be surprised? I mean, Brandon Staley is doing the Vic Fangio things just like he did in Los Angeles with the Rams last year. Yeah, but that was kind of an early kind of gut check win to get. That was a good solid win for the Chargers.
Yep, it was. Yeah. And really quick, just this made me think of this when you brought up Cincinnati. A game this coming week that I'm certainly not going to watch because there's going to be more entertaining games, but one that I think is going to tell a lot about these two teams is the Vikings and the Bengals. Because
they played
that just happened. Oh, I'm sorry. The Bengals are playing someone else, but I think those two teams' next games is going to be very interesting.
Well, Cincinnati plays at Chicago.
Is right,
and
they're underdogs.
Cincinnati is.
Yeah.
Well, it is in
think.
Chicago, but Minnesota's playing Arizona this week.
Yep.
We talked a lot about Minnesota in the preseason, obviously, because the Broncos had their practices against them. We talked about how it's a talented team, but it's not a deep team. And Kirk Cousins had his typical Kirk Cousins type of day. Some big numbers. And, he looked good in the fourth quarter bringing them back, but then they didn't have enough to get it. The Vikings, something always happens to kind of pull the rug out from under them.
Yep.
Dalvin Cook fumbles in overtime.
Yep.
And the Bengals, and I think also for the Bengals, a team that clearly did not know how to win. Obviously, they got some help with the takeaway, but they found a way to win, and that's why that result. I think it's more interesting for them, because if the Bengals kind of A, establish a belief, and B, get some confidence, then let's say they beat the Bears on Sunday, they'll lose to the Steelers in Week 3, but then they get the Jaguars at home in Week 4. So if the Bengals are 3-1, all of a sudden, I think it was you who suggested the Bengals might come into Denver and win. I'm not going that far, but I think you can start looking down the horizon and saying, if the Broncos are in the playoff conversation, they can't put the Cincinnati game in as a Sharpie, because they're starting to figure things out. And by the way, Jamar Chase, all the stuff about, I wish they would paint white on the ball, dropping passes, he was absolute money.
He's fine.
Yeah, he's fine. He and Joe Burrow, when it counted, he and Joe Burrow clicked.
Yep, and
it's fine.
And that's all that matters.
That was a fun game, by the way. The Bengal-Viking game on Sunday.
Yeah,
that was kind of the best below-the-radar game.
Yeah, and I think both of those teams are going to be very below the radar for most people throughout this season, the way they are, especially the Vikings.
Yep.
Yikes.
Dan Burke, hey guys, did y'all see that Melvin was the fastest ball carrier in the league this week? He reached a top speed of 21.52 miles per hour on that 70-yard run. Also, I know some people are somehow down on Surtain after this game, but I rewatched the game and thought he did a great job covering Kyle Rudolph. Now, Rudolph may or may not be washed, but Surtain had him locked down nonetheless. This got me thinking. Surtain has a very similar athletic profile to Derwin James. When the Chargers acquired Derwin, they went from one of the worst teams covering tight ends to the best in an offseason. Are we looking at Surtain the wrong way? Should we view him more as a defensive chess piece instead of a lockdown corner?
I mean, that's how the Broncos are viewing him right now, but in the future, Mace, I think they're going to view him as a lockdown corner on the outside, maybe unless he does really well against Travis Kelce and Darren Waller, but I don't expect to see that game plan used with him week in and week out in the future. I expect it to be, okay, we got Surtain shutting down one guy for the entire game. There we go, the number one receiver shut down, and maybe it does become the number one weapon on the team that he shuts down in terms of a Darren Waller, but I wouldn't expect him after this year to see him moving around all that much. I think it's going to be a very straightforward position okay, shut down their best weapon.
Now, Vic mentioned earlier a few weeks ago that getting him work at all of these spots is probably kind of hindering him a little bit.
Slowing down the development.
And you could kind of see that, and especially against a savvy receiver like Sterling Shepard.
Yeah,
who was able to beat him for that touchdown. That's the sort of thing that Pat's going to learn from. But I like the idea of still having him out there for a possession, and I like the idea of having him out there against a good receiver. So, for example, if you give him a series on Sunday in Jacksonville, I hope he's looking at DJ Chark.
Yeah.
I hope he's got a challenge. Mm-hmm. I hope, or Laviska Shenault as well is someone who'll be a challenge. So if you put him out there and give him a series against Jacksonville like you did against the Giants, it's something he's going to grow from. Hopefully he'll be a bit better this time.
Yeah, and one thing that I want to see is just the Broncos not bench him after that mistake.
Well, I don't know. Was it a benching or was it just kind of we're giving him a series and that's it?
They said in their plans, Vic said in his plans it was to have him play a full another series in the second half. And they said the way the game went, it just didn't work out. To me, that says if they had plans to put you in, decided not to put you in, that says everything.
Well, it also says that you're playing from ahead and you're running a lot of, and you're running kind of more nickel and dime stuff. So you're absolutely taking the base out of the equation.
But you're playing from ahead. That's a great. I mean, especially this game was wrapped up by the fourth quarter. That's when you need to get him more playing time, especially after mistake. I just don't want to see him having to play scared and him having to look over his shoulder when he plays because he's worried if he makes a mistake. Because then he's not going to be jumping the routes. He's going to be making the safe plays and just not be playing his game.
Yeah, It's interesting. We've talked about 2 Alabama rookies who struggled a bit in their first game in this podcast. We went with Leatherwood earlier, and now we're on Patrick Surtain. As prepared as guys might be coming from out of that program, it's not going to be perfect. It's never perfect. We saw that last year with Jerry Jeudy with a drop. It just sometimes it takes a little time, even if you've got the pedigree.
Mase, this is just going to happen because it's the world we live in. And it's the choice that the Broncos made. But the best Alabama rookie was Mac Jones.
Yeah.
I mean, he over 100 passer rating. Now, they did lose, only were able to put up 16 points, but he was good. 281 yards, a touchdown, no picks. He was very sharp.
Sounds like an early career game for Tom Brady.
Yeah.
When he was first starting 20 years ago. I mean, solid, good, solid and efficient.
Right.
For his day.
Right.
And I've heard some comparisons of Mac Jones in that first start to Tom Brady's rookie starts.
Yep. Yeah.
Or not rookie, first year starts, because he didn't start at all as a rookie. He came in year 2. But there's definitely some parallels there.
Yeah, and that's just something
scary
we're gonna
to think about.
We're going to be following him
Yeah.
and Justin Fields, of course.
Yep. Mark IT snatched hey guys, the DNVR guillotine has claimed its first victim. Y.O. Pup Hulk had stellar performances from Nick Chubb and Am Thielen, but with no Ravens or Raiders, he could only watch in horror as the tough 3 quarters turned into a last-minute shootout in Sin City. Now his players, including Calvin Ridley, Big Ben, and Dave Njoku, are on the waiver wire. The Bears only sated for the week, who will feast upon it in week 2. As for real football, it felt like the first time in years where we could live in the warm glow of a resounding, meaningful win for our Broncos.
Well, I totally agree with that
Yes.
second part. I don't understand that first part one bit.
Yeah, I guess it's the the Fantasy Survivor League that's going on.
Okay, the
Yeah.
fantasy Oh, yeah. Okay. Was there a question from him there, though?
I think more of a comment. He said the question was, who will it feast upon in week 2? It's more rhetorical.
Oh, well, impressive, Mark
Yeah,
IT said.
yes.
Or Y.O. Pay Poke.
Yeah, and Mark, I'm sure you can tell me who is going to feast upon it. But the other thing, like you mentioned, the key word is meaningful. We've seen resounding wins for the Broncos in recent years. They trounced the Cardinals back in 2018 when they went down to the desert. Engulfed the Texans in Drew Lock's second start back in 2019. Came back against the Chargers last year. But meaningful, not just resounding. I mean, shoot. It's been a long time. I mean, could you even say that some of the resounding wins in 2016 were meaningful because they didn't make the playoffs?
It depends on what route you want to go down.
I would actually say, in terms of meaning and resounding, I think this was probably the best win since Trevor Siemian's apex against the Cincinnati Bengals when he was AFC Offensive Player of the Week.
Let's go, Trev! And
Back
then maybe
in
one
September
before that, it would be
2016.
the Cowboys, or I guess more recently that'd be the Cowboys win.
Yeah, but the problem was you collapsed right after that. At least they were 3-0 then, and they finished 9-7. They were relevant for a while. The Broncos became so relevant so fast after that Cowboy game that it's hard to ascribe any meaningful nature to it.
How about Super Bowl 50, last meaningful game?
Yeah. I was trying to give some credit to the 2016 team that I still maintain if they had a Tyrod Taylor-like quarterback would have won 12 or 13 games.
Hey, don't do that to Trev.
Or if they drafted Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
And Russ had succeeded Peyton. And
Wow.
the two. By the way, imagine...
Broncos have Teddy now.
I know. But imagine the film sessions that Russ and Peyton would have had if they were on the same team.
Yeah, it would have been good.
Oh, my God.
There's no doubt about that.
Oh, my gosh.
Peyton would have loved it. Next one coming in from Casper. He says, fellas, I don't know about you, but I feel robbed that we won't be able to see Peyton and Eli call a Broncos game this season. How much money do you think they would need to only call Broncos games?
There was a total missed opportunity this week, I mean, they were going to have the Raider game be Monday night week 1 because of the new stadium and first time with fans and all that. But Peyton and Eli calling a Broncos-Giants game would have been tremendous.
Yeah, it would have. That would have been so good.
That's sad that we don't get to see that.
They would have just had to make them the number 1 crew for that game.
Yeah, it's sad that there probably won't be another opportunity for that for 4 years.
Yep. Ah, what a bummer.
Oh, I mean, the ball busting on that broadcast would have been tremendous. And Bronco fans would have loved it because it would have been Peyton busting Eli's balls because of how the game was going.
Just like Peyton was busting Tom. I love that. Just taking shots at Tom all night.
Yeah. About the numbers and all that.
Yeah.
Peyton and I are in the same spot here. I mean, figure it out, Tom.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Apparently, last Thursday night proved that he's figured it out.
Yeah, he's fine. It's just
Micah Parsons wearing 11. Is that what he's wearing?
Yeah.
Didn't bother him that much.
Tom-
He made Michael Parsons look silly.
Tom was having a rare old guy moment. Old man yelling at the cloud.
Yep. And then turning back into 22-year-old.
Right. Count Locula, just a reminder to RK to wear Aloha shirts on Fridays. You two gents are always on point, but RK has committed a host of procedure penalties in this department. Perhaps he's just pulling an Alex Leatherwood. Whoa!
Wow, RK called Alex Leatherwood.
Oh, boy.
Yikes.
This is what we're thinking about right
Mace,
now.
is that a Hawaiian shirt or an Aloha shirt? Pardon me.
Kind of. It's
You
got
have
a
the
flap.
flowers, but it's like a flannel.
And it's also, and it was a little cooler today, so I thought this would be the right mix of late summer vibe with a little bit of a cooler morning than we've had in Colorado.
I mean, you've got.
But I'm wearing shorts.
You've got all the Aloha shirts. If you have a flannel Aloha shirt,
Yeah, I do.
that's impressive. Very impressive. And speaking of you, Mace, next one's for you. Oh, no, that one was from the count.
Yeah.
Sorry, last one to wrap us up here, coming in from Mr. Undrafted. It says, hey, would you guys start the Bucks D this week or the Broncos D in fantasy?
Oh.
Who do the Bucks play, Mace?
They're playing the Falcons.
Oh,
Tom
wow,
Brady is straight cash money against the Falcons. I
This
think
is
the
a great
Broncos
place
will
to be, Mr.
Right.
Undrafted.
I think you got two great choices. I'm going with. I got to go with the Bucks though. The Bucks against Atlanta. I think Tom Brady will do well, but the Bucks D will feast on a Falcons offense that looked really punchless.
Is it in Atlanta?
It's in Tampa, I believe.
It's in. Yeah, if it's in Tampa, I don't know how you don't go with the Bucks because the Jaguars, there's talent.
The who?
The Jaguars.
The Jaguars.
Jaguars.
The Wires.
I knew that was going to come up this week.
Oh,
Probably
sorry,
not the last
sorry.
time it comes up. But Mace, I think, what do you want me to say? The Jaguars? Jaguars?
Jaguar. Just say Jaguars or Jaguars.
I say Jaguars.
You said why? That sound Jaguar.
Jaguar.
It was Wire earlier.
Jaguar. Feel like I have something deep
Jaguar, Wire. we're just calling Jacksonville.
The Jacksonville team.
The Fighting Urban Myers.
They, I think, are eventually going to be trending up. I think under Matt Ryan, Mace. I mean, what a disappointing and disgusting performance they had this past week against Philadelphia. Give me the team that's playing them. But you're not wrong starting the Broncos in fantasy.
One thing real quick, especially relevant because Philadelphia's on the schedule later for the Broncos. Philly's defensive line looked really good. And I saw the point made by some of the reporters in the Philadelphia area that as weak as that team is in a lot of spots, it's strong on the O-line and D-line. And as a result, that team can only be but so bad.
Yeah, really helps.
Yeah. They won in the trenches. Atlanta looks like they have a long, long way to go.
Yeah.
And Matt Ryan may not be the guy that's leading them on when they come out of this.
There is no doubt. But I'll tell you who is the guy. And it is our friends over at Green Mountain Dental. And make sure to check them out because not only are they the best damn family-owned dentistry in the Denver metro area, not only are they part of our DNVR family, not only are they only a 15-minute drive away, not only do you get to talk Colorado sports, but if you schedule a cleaning, x-ray, and exam, they'll give you a free Sonicare toothbrush. They'll hook you up with a gift just like a good family member does. So schedule a cleaning, x-ray, and exam over at Green Mountain Dental, and you'll get hooked up with a free Sonicare toothbrush. Supporting our partners is supporting us, and they have supported us pretty much longer than anyone else. So make sure to check them out over at Green Mountain Dental. Schedule that cleaning, x-ray, and exam, and you'll get a free Sonicare toothbrush. Before we get out of here, please hit us with a thumbs up on YouTube. Subscribe to our channel as well, and turn on alerts so you know when we are going live at any time. But for Andrew Mason, I'm Zac Stevens. Thank you all so much for rolling with us on the podcast side, on the live side. We really appreciate it, and we'll be back to break down the Jaguars or Jaguars game
Whatever
tomorrow.
you want.
Tune in tomorrow. Thanks so much for tuning in today, guys.